Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here with us with Israel in Miami, the Israeli consulate in Miami, along with the tribe, Adam Trautenberg. We're here to talk about Jerusalem and the dream of Jerusalem for the Jewish people in commemoration of Tisha B'Av. So, Adam, thank you for being here with the tribe, and please take it away.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you to the Israeli consulate in Miami for putting together today's event. My name is Adam Trautenberg. I am the director of the Tribe, a Jewish young professionals community and network here in Miami. We're honored to be part of today's talk about Jerusalem as we mourn the destruction of both temples. Today's event will be a Q&A with Deputy Consul General Kasa Bainesay Harbor. If time permits, we'll take questions from the audience, so please feel free to submit those along the way. To start off our Q&A, I want to begin by asking the Deputy Consul General Kasa, what is Tisha B'Av, why do we mourn, and what is the meaning to the Jewish people?
Hey, Adam, thank you for being here with us today. And today it's not an easy day for the entire Jewish community around the world. Today is a day of mourning, of fasting. Today is the day that we commemorate the destructions of the two temples. The first temple, with the kingdom of Solomon, and the second temple as well. But it's not only the mourning of the destruction of the temple, but also the mourning of our we were forced to exile our homeland from our homelands, and the loss of our. Thank God, after thousands of years, so we are back now, but it's not complete, because we still remember it, because as a reminder that it's very fragile, what we have right now, our independence and our return to our homeland. So it's a day of fasting and a day of learning, but also it's a day where we want to, where we need to learn from each other what happened back then, what was the reason of the destructions of the two temples. So I think we will discuss it further on. Yeah. So I just would like also to show a short slideshow and a short video. What's the reason? And then from that we will continue our discussion. 1 second. 1 second. See if we can do that. No. Okay, let's move on until the video will come up.
Okay. Tell us about Beta Israel and about Beta Israel's long relationship with the land of Jerusalem, and how important was Jerusalem in the mind of the Ethiopian Jews?
Well, in some of us in the Ethiopian Jewish community left Jerusalem before the destructions of the temple, and some of us never heard about the destruction, some of us did. So it was, since the communication back then wasn't that good, to say that. So when we learned later that when we came to Israel, that there is no temple and that there is no way of celebrate our tradition the way it used to be, it was a huge disappointment. Our existence in general was the longing to go back to Jerusalem. We call it Jerusalem is Jerusalem. The longing and everything that we did to survive, which means to live remotely in a remote mountains or valleys, just to be independent and to be not to assimilate among the Christian communities there, or to avoid Christian missionaries that might want to convert us back then. That's what we did, actually. We just stayed away. That's one of the reasons that we lived remotely from any big cities or communities. 1 second. Yes. Let me see if the video will work now. We'll talk about the, 1 second. I was gonna show the short video of what's the meaning.
Do you see the slide, my screen?
Yes, just play the
Okay.
video. Yeah. The short video that we saw right now is just that's the video that was created from our office, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Israel. So it shows, the history of the destructions and the, Jewish being exiled from our homeland. So you asked me about the relations of the Ethiopian Jews and Jerusalem. Like I said, is the dream was to go back, and the tradition that we practice was according to the Torah, according what we used to do when the temple used to exist. Many, the whole prayer every day in the morning and the evening was to return. The idea of returning never stopped. The dream to go back, and now that we are united with our Jewish fellow brothers and sisters, we understood that it was everywhere in our community, next year in Jerusalem. Okay, so that was the whole idea. The remembrance, the idea of the remembering, the idea of returning, that one day we'll go back to our home. It's something common to all the Jewish communities around the world, and obviously in our community as well. I'll give you an example. For Passover, my mother, she used to make the dishes, her own, from ceramic, she used to make ceramic dishes, and she used to sell them as well. On Passover, she broke all the dishes, not only broke them, but buried them, and made a new one for Passover, because that's what it says in the Torah. So basically, our tradition is exactly what says in the Bible, and the practice what used to be on the temple. Of course, we did not sacrifice, because you can't sacrifice outside of the temple, but we did symbolically, slaughter a sheep or goat on Passover to remember what we say Korban Pesach, which is the remembrance of the sacrifices that we did on Passover.
That's incredible to think about, this community so isolated that it preserved, but also just didn't have this knowledge, this information that was out there about the destruction of the temple. And I wonder, are there stories of what happened when the first wave came to Israel and discovered what had happened? What was that experience like? How did that translate back home? When was that? Are there stories, things like that, about that experience?
Yeah, so when we pray to come back home, which means to come back to Jerusalem, there were in the history of many ways of trying to come. The majority was when in the early 80s, that our community moved to Israel. But returning to Israel, what does that mean? Because we imagine that when we return to Israel, we return to Jerusalem, it will be like the same, like we, when the temple used to exist. That was a huge disappointment. There was no temple or to practice the way used to practice in the time of King of Solomon, or 12 tribes. To mind you, we used to be 12 tribes, all of us, and the name of Jewish or came from the name of Judah, who was the last tribe to stay in the area of Judah in Jerusalem. So when I, as a little girl, were dreaming to go back to Jerusalem, in my mind was that we'll celebrate our tradition like it used to be with the existence of the temple. So that didn't happen. So that wasn't the the reality. But still, it was a learning moment or mutual learning moment when we, just imagine brothers that used to live together at the same area, and they had to separate and live for 1,000 years separately. And the idea of the surprise that there are Jewish people, in a different color. There are Jewish people practicing a little bit differently from what we do, because the temple, both temples, they used to unite the people. When our capital in Jerusalem was the capital was the united place, the place that unites everyone. Every tribe out of the 12 tribe has its own way of doing things and way of family tradition or those kind of things. But once you come to the temple, you are like everyone, you are one. And it doesn't matter if you have differences or not, and it doesn't matter if you are rich or poor. The temple, the God's place, and our capital was capital for everyone. Therefore, Jerusalem, the capital itself, never was belonging to anyone, not to any tribe out of the 12 tribes, because it was a place where unites everyone and every differences. Therefore, Jerusalem, like when we came from the when we sent free from slavery in Egypt, and we came to return to Israel, and every tribe received a territory, but Jerusalem was a territory that belongs to everyone. It didn't belong to one tribe. Okay, the whole idea was just it's. So I believe that nowadays, with all the differences of every Israeli, Jerusalem is a place that unites everyone, and it doesn't matter where you live as a Jewish person or where you live as an Israeli, Jewish Israeli. Jerusalem is a place that's unites everyone. It belongs to everyone, and everyone's praying towards Jerusalem. Like I said, so after the return of the Jewish people back home to Israel, as Jerusalem as it has a difference and destruction, we never stopped, praying to unite Jerusalem, and that's happened 1967 in the 6 Days War. We united the whole Jerusalem. Finally, we returned and we could pray in the Western Wall. When we say Western Wall, is the Western Wall of the temple. It is the living. I said living, the evidence that we have still existing from the time of the temples, and this is something that every Jewish person knows, and every person that knows his history and his background should know or knows about it. And like I was educated, my family educated me since I was a little girl, and God made miracle, and I just happened to be, it was in my time that we returned to Jerusalem. So it is very interesting, just the idea of everyone returning back home to Israel, to Jerusalem, and then coming to Jerusalem to see that it's different, but it's still this is a place that unites everyone. Yeah.
You alluded to it earlier about the divisiveness that Tisha B'Av also represents. And do you have a message, or do you think that there's an importance of acceptance and unity among Jewish people, and then outside of, Jewish people, with everyone else as well, that comes through from, this day of remembrance, this holiday here?
Yeah, the tradition is telling us that the destruction of the temple happens because our differences, we couldn't overcome our differences, and because it was the hostile among us was so big, that was God, created this, the destruction happened because we were not united. So when we are not united, I'm not talking about united in terms of ideas and opinion. Obviously, that we have different opinion, that's okay. But the hate that was among us, among the tribes, that's actually what's created to this gap, and where in that gap came the enemy and came in and destroyed not only our capital and temple, but also our peoplehood, our nations, and the exile, the forced exile out of Israel, out of Jerusalem, and our separation for thousands of years is the result of that divestment and hostile among us. So the tradition is, we say, the more that we get closer as peoplehood, the more that we work together, that will bring the Mashiach or the temple a bit closer. But now we have the state of Israel, which is wonderful. But every Israeli knows, and every Jewish knows, that we say 2 Jews, 3 different opinions. That's okay, that's fine. But the hate and the hostile that might be among us, that would be really unfortunate. We need to get closer to each other, even though we have differences, and this is okay. We are all human and we have our own opinion. But when there is a sentence in Hebrew that says "Kol Israel Aravin Ze Leze," which means every Jew is responsible for each other. Even though we have differences, even though we have a different opinion, we are responsible of each other. Okay, and this is one of the reasons that we are back to Israel, because we were responsible for each other. And this is one of the reasons the state of Israel sent, risk life to help us come to Israel, because we are responsible for each other. And this is the key word: being responsible for each other and caring for each other, despite our differences. And it's okay to have differences, and different opinion build us, for a better future. That being said, there's being responsible for each other and caring for each other. It's very important, especially nowadays. Yeah.
Quick bonus question: Have you seen, or do you know of any, rituals or spiritual practices or religious practices that have changed from, childhood or from generations prior, now with the knowledge of the destruction of the temple? Like you were telling us about your mother's plates, like does that practice change, or have any practices changed with the new information that came to the Ethiopian Jewish community?
Well, there are several things that changed, because when we lived in the village in Ethiopia and we had our own, kind of a community, and we celebrate together, because mind you, Judaism, it's all about community, and our tradition, it's all about community. And fasting, even praying, you have to have 10 people. You can't just pray by of course you can pray by yourself, but when you are in a synagogue, you have to have 10 people, 10 men, or to pray with you. It's all about community, and the whole existence of Jewish people and Judaism and tradition, it's all about community. It's not something that an individual person can do that just by himself, for in his life. Therefore, in our Torah and our tradition, it's also all about community. So when we used to live as a community in the village, when we all just families there, it used to be easier. But now we are in Israel, and each family choose to live wherever they choose to live, wherever city they choose to live in. So it's become a bit difficult and a bit different, which means that every family is celebrating, the holidays among their neighbors or families and this kind of things. But it's not the same way that it used to be in Ethiopia. I'll give you another example. What used to be when the temple used to exist, the woman once a month in her monthly menstruation month, she used to stay out of the house. There's used to be a small hut called Mergam Gojo. Once a month, she stays in that little house. She doesn't cook, she doesn't clean, she doesn't take care of the kids. Everything is used to taken care of for her because the community took care of her and her family. Mind you, back in the temple, when all the every Jew, every people of Israel, they had to go to the temple at least three times a year. That was on Passover and Shavuot and Sukkot, on those holidays. So women in her menstruation time, she was not allowed to go inside the temple. So she stayed outside of the temple because she wasn't pure. So it's again about pure impurity or this kind of thing. So we practice that in Ethiopia because we're as a community, we took care of each other. And in the time of the temple as well, when you come to the temple, you're not coming by yourself, you come with your community, you go with your family. So they took care of each other, and there was a separate place for women to help each other and this kind of things. So this is the kind of a practice that we kept for thousands of years that used to exist in the temple time. So what happens in Israel when we come? It's different. You don't have a separate apartment where you can go to, and someone will take care of your kids or cook for you or clean the clothes for you. Or it doesn't happen. I think this is one of the crises when we came in to Israel, and we found out that there is no such a thing because there is no temple, so we don't do that anymore. It's different. So this is like just a small example of how things used to be in the time of the temple, and how my community preserves this tradition almost exactly like it used to be in the time of the temple. Yeah.
Thank you. Couple more questions that we have, but I do want to remind our attendees here, if you have any questions, big, small, related or not, please feel free to enter them. I believe there's a Q&A box that you can enter your questions in, or you can chat them. We'd love to hear from you and take this opportunity while we have the Deputy Consul General here to answer any questions. We're a wealth of experience and knowledge here, so please take advantage and send us your questions. How is Tisha B'Av honored in Israel and in Jerusalem, if there's any difference there? And is it different than it is for Jews here in North America or around the world?
Well, Tisha B'Av, again, it's a day of mourning. It's a day of fasting. All of us fasting from from yesterday evening, actually, from yesterday sunset, from the sunset yesterday until the sunset today, 24 hours of fasting and remembering. Tisha B'Av also, it's not only remembrance of the destruction of the temples, but also everything that happened, the tragedies that happened to the Jewish people all over the world. It's the day that we're mourning and we're remembering and we're praying, come back not only to our country, but also to our independence, which we have in the creation of the recreation of the state of Israel. It's a miracle itself. But still, we're fasting and we commemorate mourning this today, just to remind us. So what's happening in Israel basically is everyone's, a night before, all night they're studying Torah everywhere, but not only studying Torah in the terms that most of the people knows, religious people are going to synagogue studying, but also the whole community of Israelis, there are so many programs, not only to religious people, but to secular people as well, to study the text of the Torah and to learn what we can learn today from what happened thousands of years ago, what we can learn from that, how we can change our society, how we can become better people, how we can be better nation. So the whole idea of studying the text in Torah or the Talmud text, it's the idea of how we can be a better people, how we can be more responsible, not only as a community but also as individuals, what we can do better, or how we can change our way to create a better society. So, again, like I said, the destructions of the temples, the two temples, happens because we were not united. Again, it's not because of our ideas were not united or are not the same, but also there was a hostile and hate among us. And how we can, and nowadays, especially in Israel, the study is how we can become a better people, how we can be a better contributor to the society, or help each other, or this kind of thing. So the whole study is not only studying the Torah, you're not even studying a Torah. You read the Yecha book, and it's all about social responsibility, those kind of things. It's less about practicing the religions part of the Judaism. It's more studying what's wrong in our society, in Israel, and how we can fix it, and how we can create a better society and a strong society. That's the whole idea of studying. When we say we study the text on Tisha B'Av, that's the whole. So the fasting also, it reminds you when your body is kind of suffering, you can't eat, you can't drink. It's like kind of Yom Kippur. When Yom Kippur, it's when we're not eating. When you're fasting, you're thinking about yourself and your sin. Yom Kippur is more individual between you and God than Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, it's a social fasting. It's a community fasting. While Yom Kippur is between you and God individually, even though you go to a synagogue and pray with hundreds of people, but it's more you, focus on you and the individual person and his relation with God. While Tisha B'Av, it's not about you only, it's about community. So you need to think about your community. You need to think about the people that surround you, and it's not just like that. It's a big day for everyone in Israel, because everyone in Israel, they don't have to go to a synagogue to study on Tisha B'Av. Not necessarily all the text studies are in synagogues. It can be in someone's house. It can be in a museum. It can be everywhere. So you take a text of Echa, the book of Echa from the Bible, and you learn it, and you also quotes from different social activists or leaders from all over the world, and you learn, you discuss, you ask questions, and you learn what you can do better, what we can do better. So see the difference between Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av. It's totally two different things. Okay, so since the destructions of the temple, since our exile from our homeland Israel thousands of years ago happened because there was a huge, not only disagreement, but hostile and hate among us, how we can fix that? So if we say in Hebrew, the destruction happened because we hate each other for nothing. But if we love each other, then the Mashiach will come and will build our temples again. But we have, when I say about love, it's not, I love you, I'll send you flowers and this kind of things, but the main important thing is to be responsible and care for each other. Although we have the differences, this is the reasons when we build a nation, it's about taking care of each other. It's not only your poorest one, or in the Torah it's the most. It says we need to take care of the most vulnerable people. Okay, so in our tradition in the Torah, if there is a nest on the tree of a bird, you need to make sure that that nest and those eggs are safe. And that's how the Torah is teaching us. Okay, so what is that? What that's example, which means if you destroy that nest and destroy the eggs, you will be punished. So what does that mean? I mean, it's just a bird, it's just a nest, it's just eggs. And what does that has to do with a human being life? Which means every life matter. Okay, that's what the Torah is teaching us. You need to take care of your most vulnerable, the children, the women, elderly people. Even though you have, when you have, back then we used to be farmers in Israel. So when you, at the time of the harvest, 10% of your harvest, you have to donate it to poor people. And nowadays, still people doing that at 10% of their income. Some people a year, 10% a year, they donate it. And that's why our tradition of donating and taking care of the poorest one or the um, unfortunate one, it's very, very important. It's its core values. And the value of learning and understanding there is being responsible of each other, it's so important. It's once you are responsible about each other, we see each other or care of each other, and that's the unity that everyone's talking about even nowadays. And you have, when it comes to Israel, yes, of course, everyone has disagreement abroad, not only abroad but also in Israel. You ask an Israeli, he can give you a whole hour of speech about his opinion. But even though we have differences in our thoughts and opinion, the most important thing is to keep being responsible for each other. Yeah. So I don't know how it's in America here is. I believe it's the same, because my experience when years ago when I came to the Jewish community is the same. You mourn, you sit on the floor and studying the text, and being responsible for each other. I think it's your community, the tribe community, can teach us a lot. Also by the organization that you are leading, Adam. It's an amazing one. You take the young adult professionals people and you gather them as a community and celebrating Judaism and tradition in a way that it fits to you and your community. That itself is amazing, because it's up to us, of each of us. It's not, you're not waiting for someone to do it for you, but you're getting involved and you do it, because being Jewish is being active. It's actively to do the traditions and those kind of things among community. Again, Judaism, it's all about community, and your community is amazing what you're doing, Ada.
Thank you. Thank you. And this might be personal bias here, but why do you think it seems like Tisha B'Av is not as well known as other Jewish holidays or days of remembrance? It's one that we need videos to tell us about its purpose, and we need to have these webinars here to enlighten us and share more about it. And it's so interesting, and I think especially now with this message of community building and coming together, it's such an amazing, I don't want to call it a holiday, but day of remembrance to honor. Why do you think that it kind of seems to take, I'd almost say, like a back seat to some of the other, just so much more well known, at least here and at least in the community that I've seen?
I think most of the holidays, also in Israel, you feel it. You feel every holiday, and it doesn't matter if you're religion or not. Or believe me, I have friends that they are atheists and they are Jewish. Okay, so in Israel, you feel it because it's a Jewish state and everyone is celebrating it together. Here, from my experience, it's a bit different because the majority is obviously it's not a Jewish state, but the majority of holidays where you hear about it, like Christmas and this kind of things, but it's required most of the holidays in a synagogue, I think. And this holiday, it's not necessarily have to be in a synagogue for Tisha B'Av. So I think it requires a lot of, like I said, more active way to remember it and to celebrate this holiday as a community. Again, every Jewish holiday is a community holiday. Every tradition is a community. You have to have a community to celebrate it. That's a very good question. Why in America here abroad it's less, learned. But this is something maybe you can start approach it, with again, you don't have to be religious to celebrate, Tisha B'Av. It's not part of, the Bible, or it's not part of the, holidays that says in the Torah. You have to. It's more social. It's something that came up after the destructions of the temples, and the longing of to return to Israel. Um, but obviously it will be really amazing to see more and more young people like you asking those questions and start doing something about it. Yeah, again, in this holiday we don't really read Torah and studying Torah in a synagogue. It's more social responsibility in what we can do, how we can fix our ways, and how we can be a better people or better community in order to help each other. Like I said, and I think the most important thing is the community that you have. And when you have a community and you have an open discussion about things that are happening around you, or what happening, in the community, and to discuss it itself, that's a good approach for a healthy society, but also for a healthy community through things. And of course, the the structure, why we were exiled from our homeland, what happened. It's because when we are divided, nothing comes when we are divided. Nothing good comes from being divided. When you are divided, you opening a gate for someone that can destroy you from inside. So the unity is very, very important. Not necessarily the agreement on opinion or or ways to do things, but more about to be, again, I repeat this word all the time, be responsible for each other. That's the key, and this is what holds us together for a long time, for thousands of years. And this is just the fact that me and you are speaking on this today. It's a miracle itself. And this is something that I do not take as granted. I appreciate this moment that I spoke with you about this. It's a miracle itself. Again, though we have our differences, yes, we are one people, and we need to love each other, and we need to be united and taking care of each other. And this is the most important thing. You are head of a great community, the tribe. You have your community, you have your people that are coming to your events and this kind of things. You don't have to necessarily agree about everything, okay? When it comes to different issues, I'm sure there are many disagreements, but you are one people and you are one community and you are taking care of each other. And this is the most important thing, because every person's existence, even individuals, they have to have a community. A person cannot live by itself. And obviously, as a Jew, you can't be by yourself, because to preserve your identity, you have to have a community. There is no being just a Jewish person somewhere. No, you have to have a community. That's what all Judaism is about. So in order to have a community, you have to take care of each other, to love each other, and to unite. Yes, there will be differences, definitely, and it's healthy to debate. It's all learning of Torah and Talmud. It's all about debate. But the sense of community, the sense of togetherness, and this is something that we learn in Israel. We even though we think differently, and each person thinks that things should be different the way he thinks it should be. But the sense of taking care of each other, that since we are one nation, one people, and if we don't take care of each other, no one will take care of us. So I think this is the main thing that we learn from Tisha B'Av, unlike other Jewish holidays that they are more from the Bible. That's more taking, requires from you to go to a synagogue and pray, to have the minyan, and you have to have 10 people to pray. That's between, holidays between you and God. and that's 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 between you and God. Like I said, like Yom Kippur is between you and God. Okay, and unlike Tisha B'Av, it's between you and your friend, between you and your community. You cannot, exist. I mean, an individual person without your community. And this is all. And so Tisha B'Av, it's all about community and more looking inside the community and say what we're doing wrong and what works for us, what doesn't work for us, and how we make it better, how we can make our society better for us right now and for the future, for our kids, and those kind of things. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. This was incredible, and to be able to in this moment, in this time that we have, to be able to talk about this and also learn. And I think that I've learned so much about the holiday and the Ethiopian community today. That was really interesting. So I know that you had some closing remarks or statements that you'd like to share now. So please.
Just it's more for for the community that here more in the US, that we can learn from. My message for my Jewish fellows in the US, it's what we can learn from the past, and as to make our peoplehood and our relationship better. Like I said, there are disagreements. That's fine. That's even great to have debates and disagreement, but also to remember that we are one nation, one people. And after years, thousands of years of exile, of thousands of years of separation, the fact that we found each other and we are back and we have our own homeland, Israel, our independence, a strong Jewish state, it's a miracle itself. And this is something that we are not taking as granted. That being said, it's a home for every Jewish person around the world, and definitely we need, as a people, we need to stick together. We need to care for each other, and being responsible for each other, even though we have this disagreement. And this is something that we need to learn for the future, and to see how we can, prevent a future disaster. Even though you have a disagreement with someone, doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you wishing him the worst. That's not the idea. It's good to have the disagreement. We can overcome our disagreement, but also we need to make sure that our united. We have to be united and as one people, and to continue taking care of each other, and being responsible for each other. That's the most important thing. And the dialogue that we must have together, even though we have disagreement. Now, each person thinks that he has his own, miracle way or magical way of solving big issues or big troubles. That might be, that's great, but the communication between us and to overcome our differences, it's very, very important, because eventually, if we are not united, we have learned from the history what happens when we are not united, when we are not taking care of each other. So this is the most important thing, and I'm very proud to be here. I'm very happy to be here with you, Adam, and to discuss this Tisha B'Av, this morning day or Remembrance Day, to discuss it with you, and from experience of being a child in Ethiopia, a little girl in the back, which I did not know anything about your existence, and to reunite with you guys here, and to talk with you about this holiday and the importance of our unity with you. It's a miracle itself, and I appreciate that very, very much, and I'm happy to be here. And I just want to say to everyone who's watching us, if you have more questions, if you have some concerns, here at the Israeli Consulate in Miami, we are in charge of Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, and Puerto Rico. Feel free to contact us, and would love to see who can answer. We can answer your questions or refer you to someone that knows, and keep following us. We're doing great things here at the consulate, and Yeah, good to be with you.
Thank you. Yes, it was also an honor and a privilege to be here with you all today. So yeah, check us both out online for